As soon as you have manual steps and human intervention, you're introducing potential issues. So having machines, software, handle all that for you makes it more reliable and obviously fills in all the use cases that may not work with your native UC platform.
I'm Father Robert Balaser, the digital Jesuit, coming here from Orlando, Florida at Enterprise Connect 2019. Now, a lot of you have heard E911, and I'm assuming that you understand that it's related to traditional 911. But do you know all of the different aspects that you need to consider when you're choosing an E911 provider? That's why I'm sitting with Mr. Lev Deich. He is with West Corporation. Lev, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thanks for having me. I love it here.
Now, E911 it's almost a boogeyman of UC. It's something that we think we know about. It's something that we think we should have, but I don't think enough thought gets put into what E911 really means. Let's start with something simple. What's the problem with E911?
Right. Well, it's a problem no one really wants to talk about. When you're going out there and deploying UC platforms, there's a lot of complicated features, a lot of complicated deployments, a lot of complicated ways it's being used. And believe it or not, a lot of these things break 911. So soft phones, edge devices, a lot of deployment scenarios really don't work in that environment. And then you dial 911, it doesn't work, and you're surprised about it. So that's what happens.
It almost seems as if E911 it's not even an afterthought. It's an afterthought. It's we'll get the connectivity up and we'll get all the devices connected and we'll make sure that we have the UC that we use on a daily basis. But E911 is so far down on the list that by the time most IT people get there, it's just a checkbox. It's like, I think we have E911 working, and so therefore we'll move on to the next part. How do you get past that mentality?
It's really about educating people, letting them know in advance, these are the trigger points that you should worry about when you're deploying a UC solution. Make sure it's tested, make sure you've thought about the design, and make sure it's solved, because after it's too late. You don't want something happening on your watch, and you get the bad publicity for your team, for you, for your company, and certainly it's got serious repercussions. There's no second chances in a lot of those calls.
Let's talk about that idea of having E911 baked into the design of the system, because I've also seen implementations where they maybe they did do an honest effort to do E911, but they did it at the very end of the chain, and by then the system was designed, it was deployed. Why do you need to think about E911 at the start? What changes in your deployment when you're actually doing proper E911?
911 is something you need to think about not just at the start, but every time you make a major change in your network. So a major upgrade, let's say you start deploying teleworkers, soft phones, let's say you're moving to a hybrid cloud deployment. Every time you make a change in your environment, even switching to a new SIP trunking provider, that's a trigger to say, well, what about 911? How's that going to work? So it's not something you only do once. It's something you do through major change and evolutions of your environment.
Okay, let's go to the next step. And the next step is proper E911. And I understand you're speaking from the view of West Corporation. Yeah. You've got a system that you've been pushing that you believe really does solve a lot of the issues around E911. What is it that West does for E911 that you think is unique, that is special, and that really works?
Absolutely. Well, what we do is we enhance existing UC platforms so that they support all the 911 use cases. So you can buy a UC platform and it has 911 built in, but it only works in certain scenarios. And what we do is we fill out the gaps. That's what we do, though. So there's specific questions we'll work with our clients with to find out what are those gaps, do you have those gaps? And then we build solutions that can help anything from tracking devices, supporting specific endpoints, supporting specific designs like hybrid cloud and full cloud, and just making the system work, even if you have a mixed vendor environment, and just trying to make it simpler, more automated, less error prone, because that's what people care about. It's not about the bells and whistles of 911, does it work? And as soon as you have manual steps and human intervention, you're introducing potential issues. So having machines, software, handle all that for you makes it more reliable, and obviously fills in all the use cases that may not work with your native UC platform.
Right. I did work with an institution that they did do an honest effort to do E911, but as you mentioned, it was manual. So if you had a worker who moved between office, home, and teleoffice, that worker would have to actually dial a code to tell the system, I'm no longer in office, or I'm no longer at home, or now I'm on road. What would West Corporation do to automate that?
Sure. So what we try to do is try to make it a seamless experience. So when you're in the office, in the enterprise, end users don't see anything. It just works like magic behind the scenes. You move an office to another location, it just shows up with the right address. That's the user experience. Obviously, when they leave the office, if they're teleworkers, we have various software applications that plug in with the soft client, for example, that allow you to self-report the location. But it's smart, so it remembers if you ever go back to that location, it doesn't start popping up. It doesn't ask you, where are you? There's no codes to dial. So it works really well in practice, and this is something we're constantly improving, evolving, so that at the end, the user experience needs to be seamless, just like it is on the mobile client when you move around.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, 911 only has to not work once to completely disprove your deployment. Lev, thank you so very much for sharing this. It's a little different than the normal affair we get here at Enterprise Connect, because this is one of these essential services that you just have to have. Now, the best place, of course, for people to find out more about West Corporation, more about E911, is to come to a show like Enterprise Connect, to actually speak to your representatives. But if they can't do that, where can they go online to find out more about West Corporation?
Yeah, west.com on our website. There's a whole section on Enterprise 911. That's where you see a lot of the information around how we integrate with various leading UC vendors, what is our value prop, all the brochures, data sheets, presentations. That's where you can get all the content. So I do encourage people to go to the website, west.com.
Thanks again, Lev. And you stay tabbed, because we've got more from Enterprise Connect 2019.